Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, December 4th, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see that we have that ridge of high pressure that's still responsible for sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can still see that the southern and eastern United States are still being plagued by numerous troughs of low pressure as well as cold fronts. We can also see that we have another trough right there affecting portions of the Turks and Caicos, northern Hispaniola. And we still have that cold front that stretches all the way from northern section of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of the northern main development region. And we can see that there is a trough that is as induced right there, stretching into portions of the eastern Caribbean. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see those low-level patches of clouds moving from east to west in that flow of wind brought about by that high pressure. We can see the clouds associated with those numerous cold fronts affecting portions of the southeastern United States with overcast skies and showers. We can also see the clouds associated with that cold front that stretches all the way from the northern section of North Atlantic all the way down into portions of the eastern Caribbean right there, sending some amount of clouds that's definitely going to be responsible for bringing more in the way of rainfall to sections of the eastern Caribbean islands, especially the Leeward Islands. We'll be talking more about the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, December 4th. It was stated that we would have received some amount of morning rainfall across sections of some northern and eastern parishes in Jamaica. Then, some of that rainfall would spill into sections of southern and western Jamaica during Monday afternoon. And we know northern parishes we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. Eastern parishes we're talking about Portland, St. Andrew, Kingston, St. Thomas. And then for the afternoon, as was stated, southern and western Jamaica, so southern parishes, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland. Western Jamaica, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney. And what ended up happening? A post was made on our Twitter page. Keep in mind that these posts aren't only made on our Twitter page, but our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok page as well. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as there are some mini posts that are made there that are not made here on our YouTube page. So you can see for yourself that a post was made at 7:36 a.m. highlighting the visible satellite images coming in from the northeast to affect sections of some northern parishes and eastern parishes. So definitely a section of eastern St. Thomas especially got some amount of overcast skies, isolated showers. Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, and even section of Trelawney got some of that. And then in the afternoon hours, another post was made highlighting the very visible satellite images showing clouds bring some isolated showers, if not overcast skies, to section of some southern parishes. So definitely a section of St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, section of Westmoreland got in on some of that. And even in the early evening hours, we had some amount of these clouds coming back into section of Portland, bringing some isolated showers to those spots, spilling into section of St. Mary. And we even have confirmation on our Facebook page. Soldier Boy Willie stating nice showers in St. Mary, loving it. That was posted that's 6 hours ago. Sweet Sugar Stick stating, yep, raining in St. Mary, Portland. So these comments do indeed confirm the rainfall that was forecasted for a section of northern Jamaica in the morning hours. And I even had a video clip coming into my Instagram page of a friend of mine in Clarendon confirming the rainfall in his area. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see we indeed had some of these clouds bring some overcast skies and isolated showers, sections of Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth gotten and some of that, then Portland in the late afternoon hours into early evening hours. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images, not the invisible, the infrared satellite images, we can actually see that patch of high level cloud. So we indeed had a cumulonimbus convection burst right there across sections of Manchester before the night came down. And we can still see that we have a lot of patches of grays that represent cloud cover, still coming in from the east right there off the shores of southeastern Jamaica. And if we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, we can see some grains that represent rainfall right there off the shores of St. Thomas, some of this rainfall off to the east of Jamaica. We can also see that rainfall exiting the coast of St. Elizabeth that we indeed had during the afternoon to late afternoon to early evening hours. And we can still see that we still have some patches of greens that represent isolated shores across sections of Clarendon heading into Manchester at this time. Rest of what we're seeing across northern Jamaica is ground clutter. Don't be alarmed. All of that is a glitch on the Cuban Doppler radar, so it's nothing to worry about. We're basically looking at what we're seeing moving for the most part in a east-west or northeast to southwest kind of fashion. So that's how we know it's actual rainfall, and we can even put it up on the infrared satellite images to make sure that we're indeed seeing the right thing. If we take a look at the accumulated precipitation that we've had for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed confirm where we had that rainfall. So eastern Jamaica, northern Jamaica, especially in the morning hours. Then during the afternoon hours across sections of some south central and southwestern parishes in Jamaica. So this does indeed confirm the rainfall that was forecasted. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 3 a.m. on Tuesday, the temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that 18Z on Tuesday from the GFS. When we calculate that, that's actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. We can see that for the most part, Jamaica should be embedded in some slight yellows that represent at least 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. We can even see a part of Jamaica embedded in some grays that represent nothing at all. So no above normal temperature, no below normal temperature, just average temperature. So, for the most part, it should be at least 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal in terms of the temperatures across Jamaica for Tuesday. I will know the average temperature for the month of December across Jamaica, 87 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 87 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. Taking a look at the dry air map, we can still see a lot of dry air across the Caribbean basin. We know the dry air is represented by the key at the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, the whites within those reds, and we still see a lot of dry air in and around the Caribbean region at this time, even affecting portions of Jamaica. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast, we can see that there's a slight glitch on the Saharan dust map. Usually where we're seeing all of these grays, we see the greens that represent the land and the blues that represent the sea. But we can see that we still have that Saharan dust right there, and it stretches all the way from the main development region into Africa right there, and this is valid for 2 p.m. on Tuesday, which means that majority of the Caribbean, including Jamaica, should be clear. Taking a look at the wave forecast, we can see that for the most part, the Euro and the GFS are showing blues surrounding the island. And the blues is not representative of the sea, it's representative of the wave height. And we can see the wave height right there on the bottom right. So the blues definitely representing anywhere from 1 to at least 2 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds are not going to be that strong at all, averaging anywhere by, as we can see by those greens and blues, so anywhere from 10 to at least 20 knots, and we can see the flow coming in from the east. We can also see that we have the least amount of winds expected across inland areas of some central and western parishes in Jamaica. So if there's a chance of some more afternoon isolated shower, all of those clouds building up and then getting heavy and causing some amount of rainfall, it's definitely gonna be the same spots that got it today. So inland areas of some central and western parishes. Taking a look at the rainfall forecast, we can see that even as early as tonight, we still have more rainfall to receive. This map from the Euro and from the GFS, they're both valid for 9 p.m. tonight, and we do see the consensus that some blues represent rainfall right there across the eastern portion of the island. It does make sense considering what we just saw. Some greens right there off the east coast of the island that represent rainfall. We can also see that green speck right there off the coast or on land across section of St. Thomas. So they could be getting in on that rainfall as we speak. Skipping ahead to about 3 a.m. What do we see? We're looking for consensus. Yes, we see a speck of blue that represents rainfall off the coast of Portland for the Euro model. The GFS is a bit more robust, showing more of those blues on land as well as out to sea across Portland. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Skipping ahead now to about 11 a.m. We're looking for consensus. The Euro model is what we're seeing here, and we do see the blues that represent rainfall. More of them out to sea, but some of it spilling into land. So definitely a section of Portland, St. Thomas spilling into maybe section of Eastern St. Andrew. That's on the Euro. The GFS is showing more of those blues that represent rainfall across section of Eastern Portland and Eastern St. Thomas. So we'll see exactly what unfolds with that. We know that when we're talking about rainfall forecast, we have to look for consensus in what both of these maps are showing, and we do see the consensus that is confined to eastern Jamaica. Skipping ahead now to about 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we start to see a bit of contrast, but we're looking for consensus. So we see the blues that represent rainfall in and around sections of Kingston and St. Andrew on the GFS. The Euro showing something similar in and around Kingston and St. Andrew, spilling into sections of Portland, St. Mary, but more in the way of incorporating sections of central and western parishes in Jamaica. So we'll see exactly what unfolds with that. We see the contrast with the Euro and the GFS for 3 p.m. So let's just watch and see exactly what unfolds tomorrow. Either way, both of the maps are confirming rainfall for tomorrow, some more than others. GFS showing up to 0.13 of an inch of rainfall, especially across the east. Euro showing up to 0.17 of an inch of rainfall across maybe Kingston and St. Andrew. We'll see exactly what unfolds with that. Either way, we're indeed grateful that we're going to be receiving rainfall. We're in the month of December now. We're in our dry season. We usually receive less rainfall during this month, so we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put a kind of dent in the drought that we're going to be experiencing by the time February and March rolls around. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can still see that we have some amount of clouds coming into sections of northeastern South America. Just as predicted yesterday, eastern Venezuela, section of northern Guyana, section of French Guiana getting in on some amount of rain, clouds, and thunderstorms. You can also see that rainfall still coming into sections of Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula. The cloud cover associated with those cold fronts still bringing overcast skies and showers to sections of the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, sections of Florida, sections of the eastern Caribbean still getting in on those low level clouds coming in from the east. And with that trough trailing its way into the eastern Caribbean, there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, not much happening right now across majority of the Leeward Islands, or Puerto Rico for that matter. Maybe just eastern Puerto Rico with a few specks of isolated showers here and there across eastern areas. St. Martin, the US and British Virgin Islands, in the clear for the most part, as well as Antigua and Barbuda. Maybe a little speck of green right here across St. John's, as well as Montserrat. But we can see an increase in rainfall the more south we go, especially to the east of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia. There's more rainfall as we speak. This radar loop is valid for 7:05 p.m. The time is now 10 minutes past 7. So there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come. Hit or miss showers, or some of these, rain bands could pack a punch. Maybe some isolated flash flooding could take place in some spots, as we can see some yellows in there, some oranges. And we know the greens represent light to moderate rainfall. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see that for the most part, it's the same as what we just saw. It's more in the way of the areas to the north of Barbados getting in on that rainfall, heading into section of Dominica, Martinique, maybe section of St. Lucia. More in the way of some hit or miss isolated pockets of rainfall coming into section of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada. Not so much rainfall right now for Trinidad and Tobago, but we do see that there is potential for some of these isolated showers coming in from the east. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall that we mentioned earlier coming into section of northern Guatemala, Belize, section of the Yucatan Peninsula. And as it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Tuesday. When we calculate that, that's about 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And we can see that for the most part, majority of the Caribbean should be in the clear in terms of, well, not necessarily clear, but should be getting in on those yellows or oranges that represent those 1 to maybe 2 or even 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. So that's what's expected for the temperature forecast across the Caribbean. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast, we can see that even although we have a glitch here with the blues that represent the sea and the greens that represent the land, it's not showing. We can still see and make out the dust that represents the what's expected to come off of Africa. So those browns right there, and it's not gonna be making it to the Caribbean at all for 2 p.m. on Tuesday, as we can see majority of it still across section of Africa and the main development region by that time. As it relates to the wave forecast, we can still see much of the same like what we received yesterday. More in the way of blues for the most part that represent 1 to 1.5 or even 2 meter wave heights. And more in the way of purples to the waters to the south, far south of Jamaica, to the north of Colombia and Panama, as well as the eastern portions of the Caribbean islands. That's where we see those purples that represent 2 to even 3 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds are going to be strongest wherever we have those yellows. Look at these wind forecasts. Wherever we have those yellows, we know that's representative of 25 to at least maybe gusting to 30 knot winds. And we can see more in the way of greens and some slight blues that represent anywhere from 10 to 20 knots. And we can also see that for the most part, the winds are going to be coming in from the east across the Caribbean. As it relates to the rainfall forecast, now we're looking for a consensus. And where do we see the consensus? Where do we see the agreement with what both the Euro and the GFS models are forecasting from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday, 10 p.m. on Tuesday, sorry. Keep in mind that we're not saying that it's going to be raining all the way up until then, but if they're not already receiving that rainfall now, it's definitely expected within the next 24 hours. So we can see the consensus that yes, maybe some isolated pockets of rainfall is represented by those lighter shades of greens across sections of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. Definitely section of southeastern Jamaica, southeastern Dominican Republic, southeastern Puerto Rico, and especially portions of the eastern Caribbean. So anywhere from Guadeloupe southward, Guadeloupe is definitely in that hot spot, always getting rainfall with Dominica. We can see the consensus definitely going to be getting in some yellows and some oranges, maybe even a red that represents an inch of rainfall or more. Definitely section of Martinique, St. Lucia. Not so much across Barbados or St. Vincent for the next 24 hours, but definitely a section of Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. Skipping ahead southward, there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come for section of northeastern South America. They're just getting the beginning of this rainfall, as we can see a lot of rainfall out to sea as represented by those yellows, oranges and reds. So they're starting to get in on those greens and yellows that represent the low end of the rainfall scale, as we can see by the key on the right. So definitely eastern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana starting to get in on some amount of rainfall. Section of western Colombia, section of northern Panama, northeastern Costa Rica, eastern Nicaragua, section of Honduras, and a lot of rainfall expected, as we can see by those reds across sections of Guatemala, Belize as well. And you can also see some isolated pockets of rainfall across sections of the Yucatan Peninsula. I know that when both models from the U and the GFS are in consensus or in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.